Perth has been the hottest property market in Australia. 13% growth in 2025. Prices that have nearly doubled in some suburbs over the last 5 years, if not more. And everyone's asking the same question. Is the boom over and have we missed it? I've pulled all the data: listing levels, population growth, rental vacancy, construction pipelines, and price forecasts from every major house. And the answer might surprise you. It's not a simple yes or no. If you're considering Perth or already down there, this is essential viewing. Let's dive into the numbers. Subscribe if you want data-driven property analysis that actually helps you make decisions. To understand where Perth is going, you need to understand why it's been booming. And it comes down to three fundamental forces. First, population growth. Perth is recording the fastest population growth of any Australian capital. People are pouring in for mining, defence, and infrastructure jobs. Western Australia's economy is genuinely firing on all cylinders. Second, critically low supply. Total listings in Perth are more than 50% below normal levels. There simply aren't enough properties for sale. When you have surging demand and shrinking supply, prices go up. That's economics 101. Third, rental crisis. Perth's vacancy rate is at extreme lows. Rents have been surging. This is pulling investors into the market because the yields are attractive compared to the eastern seaboard. More investors means more competition for properties, which pushes prices higher. Now, the construction pipeline is improving slightly, but it's nowhere near enough to meet demand. New builds are being held back by labor shortages, high construction costs, and developer feasibility challenges. So the supply problem isn't being solved anytime soon. Now let's look at what the professionals are predicting for Perth in 2026. KPMG, nearly 13% growth for houses. That will be the highest of any capital city. Number 2, ANZ, 10.9% growth. Number 3, Propertyology, continued strong growth above 6%. Number 4, AMP. Perth is in the surging category alongside Brisbane and Adelaide. Now, every single one of these forecasters is saying growth will slow from 2025's pace. That's normal. You can't sustain 13% growth forever. But slowing from 13% to 10 or 11% is still extraordinary growth. That's not a bust. That's just the market catching its breath. The one risk that everyone begins to mention is affordability. Perth's median house price has risen significantly, and at some point, local wages can't keep up. But here's the thing. Perth is still well below Sydney and Melbourne in absolute price terms. A median house in Perth is roughly $850,000 compared to 1.4 million plus in Sydney. There's still headroom. ANZ expects Perth to slow more meaningfully in 2027, down to about 4% growth. So the window of strongest growth is this year. That's the data talking. So if you're looking at Perth, where specifically should you focus? The Northern Corridor suburbs like Alkimos and Ellenbrook have been flagged by LJ Hooker and the PropSpotter team as suburbs to watch. These are areas benefiting from new infrastructure, population growth, and relatively affordable entry points. For investors, the key metric to watch is rental yield relative to price growth. Some suburbs that have boomed in price have seen yields compress. Look for suburbs where rental demand is still outstripping supply and yields haven't squeezed below 4.5%. The biggest risk signal to watch: listings. If listings start significantly rising from current levels, it means supply is loosening. Right now, they're at historic lows. If that changes, the dynamic shifts. Check SQM's research listings data monthly. It's free. For more advanced data, you can use HTAG to follow the market. HTAG also recently released a report on how socioeconomic growth can affect URSAD ratings and price growth. I've linked to that video in the description so you can go check it out there. Also watch interstate migration data. Perth's boom is partly driven by people moving from the eastern states. If that flow slows, say because Melbourne becomes better value, it could take some heat out of Perth. So, is Perth's boom over? Based on the data, no. Growth is still expected to slow from the crazy 13% we saw in 2025, but 10 to 13% is still forecast by major research houses. The fundamental drivers, population growth, low supply, tight rental markets, they are all still there. The best window is likely in the first half of 2026. By 2027, most forecasters expect a more meaningful slowdown. So if you've been sitting on the fence about Perth, the data suggests the time to act now, not later. Subscribe for more city deep dives. Brisbane is coming next. Drop a comment. Do you own in Perth or are you looking to buy there? Let's chat about it. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a pleasure and I'll see you in the next one.